How desire and contrition of heart satisfies, both for the guilt and the penalty in oneself and in others, and how sometimes it satisfies for the guilt only, and not the penalty. I have shown you, dearest daughter, that the guilt is not punished in this finite time by any pain which is sustained purely as such. And I say that the guilt is punished by the pain which is endured through the desire, love, and contrition of the heart, not by virtue of the pain, but by virtue of the desire of the soul. Inasmuch as desire and every virtue is of value, and has life in itself, through Christ crucified, my only begotten Son, and so far as the soul has drawn her love from him, and virtuously follows his virtues, that is, his footprints. In this way, and in no other, are virtues of value, and in this way, pains satisfy for the fault, by the sweet and intimate love acquired in the knowledge of my goodness, and in the bitterness and contrition of heart acquired by knowledge of oneself and one's own thoughts. And this knowledge generates a hatred and displeasure against sin, and against the soul's own sensuality, through which she deems herself worthy of pains and unworthy of reward. The sweet truth continued. See how, by contrition of the heart, together with love, with true patience, and with true humility, deeming themselves worthy of pain and unworthy of reward, such souls endure the patient humility in which consists of the above-mentioned satisfaction. You ask me, then, for pains, so that I may receive satisfaction for the offenses, which are done against me by my creatures. And you further ask the will to know and to love me, who am the supreme truth. Wherefore I reply that this is the way, if you will arrive at a perfect knowledge and enjoyment of me, the eternal truth, that you should never go outside the knowledge of yourself, and by humbling yourself in the valley of humility, you will know me and yourself, from which knowledge you will draw all that is necessary. No virtue, my daughter, can have life in itself except through charity and humility, which is the foster mother and nurse of charity. In self-knowledge, then, you will humble yourself, seeing that in yourself you do not even exist, for your very being, as you will learn, is derived from me, since I have loved both you and others before you were in existence, and that through the ineffable love which I had for you, wishing to recreate you to grace, I have washed you and recreated you in the blood of my only begotten Son, spilt with so great a fire of love. This blood teaches the truth to him who, by self-knowledge, dissipates the cloud of self-love, and in no other way he can learn. Then the soul will inflame herself in this knowledge of me with ineffable love, through which love she continues in constant pain. Not, however, a pain which afflicts or dries up the soul, but one which rather fattens her. For since she has known my truth, and her own faults, and the ingratitude of men, she endures intolerable suffering, grieving because she loves me. For if she did not love me, she would not be obliged to do so. Whence it follows immediately that it is right for you and my other servants who have learnt my truth in this way, to sustain even unto death many tribulations and injuries and insults in word and deed, for the glory and praise of my name. Thus you will endure and suffer pains. Do you, therefore, and my other servants, carry yourselves with true patience, with grief for your sins, and with love of virtue for the glory and praise of my name. If you act thus, I will satisfy for your sins, and for those of my other servants, inasmuch as the pains which you will endure will be sufficient, through the virtue of love, for satisfaction and reward, both in you and in others. In yourself you will receive the fruit of life, when the stains of your ignorance are effaced, and I shall not remember that you ever offended me. In other words, in others, I will satisfy through the love and affection which you have to me, and I will give to them according to the disposition with which they receive my gifts. In particular, to those who dispose themselves, humbly and with reverence, to receive the doctrine of my servants, I will remit both guilt and penalty, since they will thus come to true knowledge and contrition for their sins, so that by means of prayer and their desire of serving me, they receive the fruit of grace, receiving it humbly in greater or less degree, according to the extent of their exercise of virtue and grace in general. I say then that through your desires they will receive remission for their sins. See, however, the condition, namely, that their obstinacy should not be so great in their despair as to condemn them through the contempt of the blood, which, with such sweetness, has restored them.